The first topic I'd like to discuss is electoral reform. I think this is really important because our elected officials are the ones who actually make the decisions about our government. They're the ones implementing the laws, they're the ones deciding what will be in it, how it'll go about, and they decide what we spend money on. But the problem is they don't really listen to us. We may ask for this or that, or they may promise this or that, but they just don't come through. And most of us have gotten used to this. We expect politicians to not come through. In fact, when it gets to elections, there's rarely even a good candidate people like. Instead, we're usually trying to pick between the least worst candidates. So, I have two things that I think will help this situation. The first is open primaries. I think that party-based primaries do only serve to polarize the electorate. The candidates come in, they want to sell themselves to the party, so they sell themselves to the base, which is the part of the party most apt to vote. It's also the part of the party that's the most extreme in their views. While they're doing that, they get themselves into all sorts of positions and set down their platform, and that appeals to the base. But once the general election comes, that platform doesn't necessarily appeal to the rest of us. It's too focused towards the extremities in the party. But if we use an open primary system, we can help defeat that. In an open primary system, you would allow all candidates to run in one primary. The top two with vote getters would move on to a general election, and then the elected official would be picked based on that general election. The advantage of an open primary is that there is good incentive to sell yourself to the whole public, not just part of the public, because everybody can vote in it. It's intended to engage more of the populace rather than just those who identify with the parties. Currently, according to Pew that I read last summer, we're only got about 30% who call themselves Democrats, about 30% that call themselves Republicans, and 40% who want to call themselves independents. That means there's more people who do not want to be identified with a party than there are that want to be identified with any single one party. So there's a lot of us in that middle ground who aren't very happy with the political system. An open primary allows us to get more engaged because the parties have to sell to us as well as their base in order to get elected. Those that go towards the extremes can easily lose out towards a more moderate candidate. Another advantage of an open primary is that since it allows everybody to run in the primary, we don't get limited to the two-party system. Currently, with the party primaries, you only get a vote in a Republican or Democrat party primary, but who else is there? There's no Libertarian candidates or Green candidates or whatever candidates you like. There's no diversity for us to choose from. There's no marketplace of ideas for us to pick from and decide what sounds the best, what would work the best. Instead, we get Democrat or Republican. Which one do you want? And Democrats are going to say pretty much the same things that any other Democrat candidate's going to say. The Republican candidate's going to say pretty much the same thing that any other Republican candidate says. It's no different. With an open primary, anybody can participate. So you can have libertarians, green parties, whatever, joining in the primary. And that creates a greater diversity of ideas, a better marketplace for us all to compare and look at ideas. It also gives us greater choice in what we would like to see as the electorate in terms of candidates. It provides a variety that is not available when you only have two choices. So the open primary is going to help diffuse the polarization based on parties selling to their bases, and it will help improve the openness of our electoral system so that we have a greater number of choices both in terms of parties and ideas. The other electoral reform that I think we need is for presidential elections. We need to reform the Electoral College. The winner-take-all system is simply not working. We should move towards a proportional system in which the electoral votes of a given state are divided proportionally based on the vote that those candidates get. As is, most of us live in a state that is either going to be red or it's going to be blue. We know which way it's going to be. I live in Texas. It will be red. I don't care who the candidate is, it will be red. And all the electoral votes from my state go to that one candidate. Well, that leaves 49% of us, or 48%, even 45%, whatever, of us completely unrepresented. This is a representative government. Yet, when I vote in a presidential election, if I don't vote the same way as my state, I am unrepresented. I do not get any electoral votes behind my vote or that of millions of others in my state who are supporting that candidate. A proportional system awards the electoral votes on a proportional basis so that we all get representation according to what proportions vote in what directions. This also is good for the election because since so many states are clearly red or clearly blue, then we only have a few battleground states. And those are the places where candidates actually care about persuading the public. Most of us sit in a state where the candidates don't care about persuading us. If you're in California, we know that you're going to be Democrat. So why are they going to waste any time on you? It's not even worth their effort to try to convince anybody because they can't get anything out of you. A proportional system gives incentive for them to for candidates to campaign to all states, all people, all populaces, because they need to bolster their numbers around the entire nation, not just in a few select states and a few select counties, to win. They need to actually sell themselves to the country, not to a state, not to a county, not to this little group that's going to swing the whole election. This will help create a more representative form of presidential elections. On top of that, it allows for third parties to try to break into presidential elections because they can get electoral votes too. No longer do you have to win 51% of the entire state in order to get anything. If you win 10% here and 20% over there, 30% there, you can pull electoral votes. And a third party may not initially be able to take the presidency, but they might be able to get enough votes to really challenge something. And with an open primary, it is possible a third party might actually make it to the general election and have a real shot at winning the presidency. That could help break this two-party stranglehold on our current political system where we really only get to choose between the two parties. We don't have any real choices. So I think that a proportional electoral college would definitely help improve the chances of any third party, but it would also require all candidates to campaign to the country, not to individual little segments of populations that they think are critical to them winning their 51% in this state and 51% in that state. So I think that we need to implement open primaries combined with proportional electoral college in order to improve our elections and improve our choices as the constituency so that we can pick better candidates to represent us better and help our country more.